Well, my name is Jeff Sturman, and I am the owner of Best Cruises and Tours. And first of all, just to add to what Shannon regarding the housekeeping. So you have that Q&A button, and you can type in the questions anytime. At the end of the presentation, we'll go over as many as that we have time for. If not, we will answer them within the next day or so. And also after the webinar, you'll get an email from us with links to everything that I'm about to go over. It will include detailed pricing. It'll include details about the special offers we're going to show you, and contact information and more. So for those of you that don't know us that well, Best Cruises and Tours have been in business a little over 30 years now, and we've sent I think a little bit more than 125,000 of your friends and neighbors on vacations all over the world. We've evolved to be one of the largest volume independent travel agencies in New Jersey. We're members of the Better Business Bureau. We're rated A+. We enjoy top producer status with most of the major cruise lines and travel suppliers. And we have been successful because we have a dedicated commitment to our clients. Our number one source of new business is our repeat clients and their referrals. And the most important endorsements come from our thousands of satisfied clients. We have two rules that we live by. Number one, we treat our clients' vacations as if they were our own. And number two, no surprises but good ones. So the past couple of years, I don't have to tell you, it's been pretty crazy for all of us. Travel actually ceased to occur for almost 2 years. Well, let me explain something to you guys. Travel is back. We have never been busier. Last week, Ruth and I escorted a group of 30 plus intrepid travelers on a Viking Ocean cruise up the coast of Norway, past the Arctic Circle in search of the Northern Lights. We had some spectacular sightings. Everybody had a good time. And as many of you know, we are experts in Alaska travel. This summer, we have over 250 guests already booked for Alaska. So travel is back. And I know all of you are looking forward to traveling. Travel is an entitlement that we have earned. We worked all our lives to be able to travel, see new things, enjoy new experiences. That was taken away from us for almost 2 years, but it's back now. So these nutty times resulted in me taking another look at my personal bucket list. And guess what? Right up there at the top, cruising the Mississippi River. So let me explain. I am extremely well traveled. I've been to every continent except the Arctic and Antarctica. And the only reason haven't been there is because Ruth doesn't want to go. But I have not traveled as much as I would have liked to in the United States. And one of the places that always interested me was the Mississippi River. Now, up until last year, the only ships on the Mississippi River were the old stern wheelers, which really didn't interest me. I personally prefer a little more modern cruising experience. So I was thrilled when Viking introduced the Viking Mississippi in September of last year. This is a brand new thing. The ship is like a hybrid between a Viking longship that cruises Europe's rivers and a Viking ocean ship with all the great Viking amenities that make Viking the #1 rated cruise line in the world. But more on the Mississippi ship a little bit later. So anyway, I looked at the itinerary, it looked terrific. Ruth and I are going in 2024, and we decided to open it up to our family of clients that have traveled with us. It's on our website, but I have not officially promoted it to the general public at this time. I'm not even sure that I will. So to get into a little more detail about the Viking experience and some details about this cruise and the ship, I will turn our webinar over to Shannon Tiger, who is my co-host and is the Viking sales manager for just about all of the Northeast.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm so glad to be here. Maybe you all have seen me before because we did do some previous presentations on the Douro and on the Northern Lights and on the Danube. So we have a lot of fun together, Best Cruises and Viking. And I have to just give a shout out to Best Cruises. I work with a lot of travel agencies and I just absolutely love working with you. I sometimes think you may know the product a little better than I know the product because you're such experts there, and the whole team too. It's not just Ruth and Jeff. I've sailed actually myself personally with some other advisors over at Best Cruises, and it really is refreshing, Jeff, to work with somebody who really loves our product, because I'm so passionate about our product and I love our product, and hopefully that'll come across in a minute. And it's nice to know that you equally love it, enjoy it, and want to continue to sail. I think this is what, your fourth Viking experience?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe fifth, just for us. And I know you are Mr. Alaska too, so, and not on Viking. So anyway, we're so glad to have you all here. Enough with us, but I do want to say, this has been a long-waited experience of Vikings. We have waited years, decades to come onto the Mississippi River. You all likely have seen our commercials in Europe on river cruising and ocean cruising. Maybe you watch Masterpiece Theater, but this is really unique and really exciting for us. We are sailing the Mississippi River, the entire Mississippi River. And as Jeff mentioned, we really brought modern cruising to the Mississippi River, and that will all come across in a moment. So I'm not going to delay. I'm going to get right to it. We're going to actually cover in this presentation the Mississippi River itself, the Viking Mississippi in depth. We're all, and including stateroom shots that are brand new, hot off the press, that I just got last week of the new vessel. And we're also going to cover at the end of this presentation the pricing and what it would look like if you wanted to join Jeff and Ruth. So I may have to jump on that ship and that sailing with you because it's something that I know I've always wanted to do. All right. So again, don't forget, in the chat field, you can ask your questions. We're happy to answer them. And right now, you should all be seeing my screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, perfecto. All right, so let's do it. Let's look at this beautiful ship in depth. You can see this picture. This is the Viking Mississippi. She joined our fleet this past summer in 2022. We've been sailing the Mississippi River, and you can see she's 5 stories. So a point of reference, because I know while you're making your travel decision, oh, well, what's the difference between Viking and the other 2 prominent lines out there? So I'm going to cover that in today's presentation, but one of the biggest differences would be the fact of her size. So she's a little bit bigger than some of the other ships, giving you more stateroom choices, 2 dining choices, 1 being al fresco, and some beautiful areas on this ship that are going to offer you floor to ceiling windows, views of the entire Mississippi. And that's one of the reasons why you're going to want to go on the Mississippi River, and that is to actually view the wonderful river that traverses all the way from the north to the south. This is what is often known as America's Great River, also often known as the mighty Mississippi. But a fun fact about the Mississippi River is she's not actually the longest. So I wonder if you're all pondering that thought. She is not the longest river in the United States. The river that's the longest is the Missouri River. So now that I've given you that tidbit, you are going to sound like an absolute pro on, on the Mississippi River. Now, she actually goes through, the Viking Mississippi goes through 10 different states, and what is often described the Mississippi as like a serpentine river, so twists and turns. And we have 8-day voyages like we're going to be discussing today on the lower Mississippi, and we also have 8-day voyages on the upper Mississippi. And if you were wild and crazy and you wanted to try the entire Mississippi, you can do all of the 10 states through a 15-day journey, which is really quite interesting. But remember, this is America's river. And a lot of times when we think about traveling, what do we think about? We think about wanting to go off to other countries. And I think for me, when I talk and present the Mississippi River, one of the things I really enjoy is actually talking and presenting our country. And so much history has happened on this river from the upper to the lower. And I'm really excited to bring that to you today. The other thing, too, is that the Mississippi River is also known as a national scenic byway. So there's a lot of wildlife and a lot of nature that takes place on the river. And so if you love bird watching, or if you love wildlife and different farms and all that, you'll see all that too here. So very, very beautiful scenic river cruising that takes place. Now, we talk about Viking, and so those of you that have sailed on us probably know a lot of the differences on what we bring to our guests while they're traveling on Viking. I wanted to just bring it back into the forefront that one of the reasons why guests love traveling on Viking is because of how we curate the onshore experiences. So we're really destination focused and less focused on our ships. Our ships are absolutely stunning and luxurious, and I like to kind of often say understated luxury. But really, truly, where your memories come in are onshore. And we take so much time in curating these experiences for you. And so I just wanted to make sure that I shared with you, we do the same thing on the Mississippi River. So when you're on shore, these are very, very in-depth shore excursions. This is not a hop-on, hop-off bus tour, which you can find. This is not that. This is a local tour guide, an American, taking you through their country, their personal cities and states that they grew up in, and sharing with you their legacies, their history, their family's history. And I think to me, that's one of the things I love most about Viking is how we tour on shore. We refer to it as the Viking Way often. The other thing that I love about Viking is who travels on Viking. So let's just get it out. No children. You have to be over the age of 18 to travel on Viking, but also moreover, we market to North Americans. So whether you're in Europe or you're in South America or you're in Australia or here on the Mississippi, you'll be traveling with North Americans, so from America and Canada. And these people are always very interested in history and art and culture and music. And so that's who will be on board with you. And while you're here on board with us and dining with us and sitting in our lounges and really taking in the destination and the history lecture series that we bring on board and the music and all that, you'll be with likely people that are just like you, who want to travel just like you, who really just are looking for a very specific experience. In addition to that, we're very inclusive. So we're going to talk about that. We own and operate our ships, which is great. We love to train our crew, so Swiss train. So we're trying to train the Americans in a Swiss fashion. So if you've sailed on Viking before, I will tell you that the service that you get usually throughout Europe is just delightful, impeccable, and just, I don't know how you describe that, but exceptional, extraordinary, right? Here on the Mississippi River, Jeff, what would be a difference from our European experiences?
Well, you're dealing with Americans, Shannon, and we've had the people that have come off the ship so far, and we've had many people that from when the original, which was in the summer, late summer, they had a great time. They felt that the service was excellent.
Perfect. And that's what we want to hear, because we've been working really, really hard to train our American crew to be just as extraordinary as our European crew. So you're going to have an American crew. Of course, all your announcements are made in English. And again, the destination is always going to be at the forefront. Now, one of the things that we often are referred to when people try to kind of differentiate us in the cruising space is there's a fun expression out there that Viking's the thinking person's cruise. And it is very true. What that means to you, and Jeff, you often refer to some of your experiences on Viking that you love are the lecture series, the historians, how we really bring the destination on board. So I love that. And I love that that sticks out to you. And I want to reassure you that even though you won't be on a per se paddle wheeler on the Mississippi River, one of the things that we do really, really well are all of our activities on board and onshore, how we really connect with our fellow travelers, bring everybody together. We'll have really amazing Mississippi experiences and also great food. So the destination is always brought on board with the food. We do a taste of evening. We have regional dishes. If you want a shrimp po' boy, you can have a shrimp po' boy. And I think being able to taste the cuisine, the regional wines, and experience that Cajun cuisine here while you're in this part of our country is great, to be able to not lose that by being on a cruise ship, but actually gain it and gain all of it, from the entertainment to the history. So you will be sure to have fully learned about America's history here on the Mississippi River. In addition to that, when you're on shore, we will make sure that you do and participate in tours that are part of the local life of this region of our country, part of the working world, and we even have some privileged access tours that are really wonderful, learning about the indigenous people of this part of our country. And so we're going to share a little bit more on that. So do know that when you're on shore, you're getting so many different experiences from the local life. One of the ones that I will refer to in a little bit is the Cajun cultural tour that we do in Baton Rouge. It's a privileged access tour. If you decide you really want to learn about the Cajun people, they're really fun-loving people and their cuisine is outstanding. You can do an optional tour while you're on shore that you pay for, but it is a real true privilege access to again see some of the people and their stories and how they were very much a part of providing for our country. The inclusive value is just like you would find on the European rivers. On any product of Viking, we always include one shore excursion for every port of call. So be excited about that. The shore excursion, again, is a very in-depth tour on shore. This is not where we're going to just leave you off in the city. You have your quiet box, you put an earpiece in your ear. You don't have to feel like you're on the heels of the tour guide. You're listening to a local tour guide who's telling you all of their stories, but then also making sure you don't miss a beat on the history, when buildings were built, when churches were built, what happened in these regions. And so you get the history, you get personal experiences, and it's really great. We also include Wi-Fi, so you don't have to worry about that. We have 24-hour room service here. We have the alternative dining. There's no charge for that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit when I showcase the ship to you. You also have beer and wine and soft drinks on board at lunch and dinner. If you want your spirits, because we are going to be in bourbon country, you can have your spirit package. It's a very nominal fee for the week, and that gives you extended wine list, wine, beer, vodkas, gins, bourbons, whiskeys, whatever it is, all day long. You never have to worry about that. Cosmo is what I'd be getting, but whatever your taste and your spirits are, I would highly recommend pre-purchasing that if you're interested. We also have self-service launderettes. We have coffee and tea, bottled water around the clock. So what I really like to say is that we don't really have a lot of extras that you have to pay for, just your spirits, as well as any extra optional tours. So going into the destination, in addition to the included tour, you can do other optional tours that really kind of hit your passion points. And then, of course, your gratuities. So a very inclusive price. So when we get to the pricing, do know the government, port charges and taxes and all that stuff is already included in it. So no casinos on board the Viking Mississippi, also no children. And then one fun fact about Viking in general is that we don't have any inside staterooms. We don't have any formal nights. So it's all country club, casual, resort casual, because you're on small ships. On Viking, we're the leaders in small ship cruising, whether it's on the oceans or expedition cruises or on the Mississippi here, you don't have lines because all of our ships, our largest ship is the ship Jeff just got off of, which is our ocean ship, and that's 930 passenger. Our traditional European river ships are 190 passengers, and the Mississippi expedition that goes to the Great Lakes as well as Antarctica, those are under 400 passengers. So know that small ship cruising brings so much, not only giving you the ability to get right into the port and into the heart of the destinations around the world, but also just a nice, calm, casual, relaxing feeling on board Viking. And I know I love that. I love not having to worry about that and all the chaos as well. So we're going to start talking a little bit about the awesome Viking Mississippi and the river that she travels, which is, here's a wonderful map. If you look to the left of this image, you'll see we actually go all the way from St. Paul down to New Orleans. So you can, if you want, to travel the entire river, as I mentioned earlier, 15 days. But really, what a lot of people do is they break it up, because you always want to do a pre or a post. So spend some extra nights in Memphis, spend some extra nights in New Orleans, and spend some extra nights in St. Louis. So a lot of people break it up. Also, the other thing is that we only have one ship, and most anyway, nobody would be cruising in the winter the St. Paul to St. Louis itinerary. So you can just kind of put that in your head. How it works is, in the winter, we're on the lower Mississippi, which is the Memphis to New Orleans. And in the summer months, that's when we cruise the upper part of the Mississippi. So Jeff and Ruth actually picked an amazing time to go in March. You're looking at weather in the 60s, the 70s. So it's a bit cooler, and you don't want to be there when it's really hot anyway. So you just dress in layers and really enjoy these ports. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the heart of the Delta. Jeff, I'm really happy you didn't pick the other river, because the heart of the Delta, or other itinerary, is because the heart of the Delta goes to Memphis. And you would lose Memphis if you did our other lower Mississippi itinerary. That just goes round trip New Orleans. So in the case of this awesome itinerary, we actually have the ability to go to Memphis, and I won't spoil it, but Jeff has also built in some other really cool things, part of his journey. So what the cruise that we're talking about here is called the Heart of the Delta on the Viking Mississippi. You'll actually be traveling with Jeff and Ruth. They've already booked their stateroom. It's 8 days, 7 nights on the ship. And it's from Memphis to New Orleans. And as you can see, the dates here for you are March 9th through the 16th. And I'm going to take you day by day on that itinerary. So don't worry about screen capturing any of this information at this point. So Jeff, I know you and Ruth put a lot of time in thinking about which itinerary you wanted to do. Here's a great snapshot, folks, of what it looks like. So you're starting in Memphis. You're going to have a day on the river without stopping in a port. And then we go from Memphis to Vicksburg. So your next port of call, your official first port of call as you've started sailing, is Vicksburg. We go from Vicksburg to Natchez, Natchez to St. Francisville, St. Francisville to Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge to Darrow, Louisiana, and then to New Orleans. So you can see you're really getting almost a port every single day. And we've also, if you want to follow in the footsteps of Jeff and Ruth, you have the opportunity to do a pre and post with them. So we're going to cover that in a moment. So you can see where the river is, and you can see that little stretch all the way from Memphis to Vicksburg. And again, remember, this is beautiful scenic river cruising, the National Scenic Byway, wonderful wildlife, and just simply enjoying the ship. So, of course, we're going to start here in the amazing Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, yes, my friends, is known as the Queen City of the South. It is actually the birthplace of the Memphis Blues. It's also going to be the birthplace of all other forms of what one would call rock and roll, soul music, Elvis Presley, Louis Armstrong, jazz. I mean, so much history here, but not only there, just with the music on Beale Street, which is what you're looking at right now, which is so much fun. It's also where Andrew Jackson co-founded the city in 1819. And there's a really strong trade and agricultural vibe here as well in Memphis. So there's a lot of other natural resources. It's not just our music that we think of when we think of beautiful Memphis. And so my advice to you is try to get there, have some time to get onto Beale Street, and then of course see the amazing Graceland. So my husband and I have been to Graceland. He's a big Elvis fan, and I have to tell you, it is like taking a walk back in time. It is completely preserved as to how Elvis Presley left it essentially. And you learn a lot of things about him, maybe even watch before you go the new Elvis movie, which was spectacular, amazing acting there. But not only do you have the ability to walk through the house and all the different rooms of the house, like the jungle room and all the famous rooms we know, but you get to walk the grounds. You'll actually see his airplane. You can go into his trophy room, and it's really quite interesting to see everything that he's done here, and how iconic he was, and take a little step back into time. Now, after Memphis, we have sorry, that's not supposed to be there. We actually, oh yes, we have our scenic cruising. That's going to be where we have our time to relax on board the ship. You can enjoy some of the spaces that you're going to see in a moment. There's beautiful public spaces on board. So just relax. And also, I want you to know that during this day, we will be having cooking demonstrations. We will be learning about the people of this region. We are going to be listening to the blues and jazz, and we're going to be really taking in the environment on board. Will be really all centered around this beautiful region. We also will be talking most likely about the entire Mississippi. So you'll not just be learning about the South, you'll be learning also about some other really important things and cities on the Mississippi. You have the whole steamboat era and all that stuff. Now, our next port is Vicksburg. So in Vicksburg, it's really quite neat because you're going to feel that Southern tradition here in Vicksburg for sure. It's a beautiful city. It's so rich in history. But what I want to bring to your attention is that Abraham Lincoln referred to Vicksburg as the key to the South. And the reason why he did was because this city, this area of Vicksburg, is where one of the most pivotal battles in our history took place, which was the Battle of Vicksburg. And the included tour actually brings you out to the Vicksburg National Military Park, and a park ranger is going to take you through the experience. You're going to actually be able to see the trenches and really explore the park very much in depth and hear all the stories about what happened during the Battle of Vicksburg. But it is obviously a really important time in our history when the Confederates finally surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant. So lots of American history here, and being on the battleground is really kind of neat. You'll also have the opportunity to explore the USS Cairo, which is an ironclad gun boat. I had to make a little tongue twister there. And so that's really neat. They actually prowled the river. We also have a Vicksburg walking tour, which is optional. So that will give you the opportunity to see the lovely historic downtown if you didn't want to go into complete depth of the actual grounds of Vicksburg and all the Civil War history. So that's your highlight there. Then we move on to Natchez, and I believe this is going to be that turning point for you where you really feel that small town America. Sort of like when we go to Europe and we see all the palaces and so forth, right? Here in Natchez is where you're going to see 500 historic buildings. 200 of them are these beautifully preserved homes, and they all grace these broad avenues. So I don't know if you've ever been to Charleston or if you've ever been to some of those southern states, but to me, this is really a quite lovely experience where you get the opportunity to see some of these really stunning homes. And I know that you're likely traveling on the Mississippi to see some of America's great mansions and even just explore the history of them and some of our not so great history here, but the plantations and all that stuff. So you'll see all of the town's top sites through the best of Natchez. You'll have the opportunity to go into some homes, and if you want, you can even take on some more homes through optional tours if that's your thing and you love exploring these old homes, or you can just really hang out in Natchez and experience the small town America, the shops, and get to know the people there. We're going to then continue south on the Mississippi to St. Francisville. This is another beautiful area of our country with historic homes. And it is also set along one of the most historic bluffs on the Mississippi. The town is said to be 2 miles long and 2 yards wide. It was originally built on a narrow ridge overlooking the river. It was founded in 1809, and it is just absolutely beautiful. So it is the oldest town in Louisiana's Florida parishes is what they're called. And I think you're really going to enjoy all the structures that you see here. And also kind of we're now in that bayou area. These are small settlements. A lot of them were destroyed by flooding, but we'll have the opportunity to really explore this area and the historic Rosedown Estate. So you'll have the opportunity to go to the Rosedown Estate and experience this estate itself and, of course, the amazing gardens. We then head over to Baton Rouge. You're really headed into the bayou now.
So if we have anybody that's complaining on the cruise, this is the excursion that we have. It's a complimentary excursion, which we manage for anybody that's not happy on the cruise.
Wow. In fact, a funny story, Jeff, I don't think I ever told you this, but when we first launched the Mississippi, one of my colleagues were doing a presentation and someone put in the chat field, are we allowed to take our guns? I saw this slide, but don't worry, folks. You don't have to worry. We're not going to go take you to see them. You don't have to be scared. But if you want to choose to, there are excursions that will take you out into the bayou. But this is actually a beautiful city, Baton Rouge. And I think now you go from that southern charm and Natchez and Vicksburg in St. Francisville, and now you're here in Baton Rouge, and it is just filled with fun-loving Cajun folks. And the history here and how hardworking they are, and actually a lot of contribution the Cajun folks made to Louisiana's history and culture. So we're going to take you on a Baton Rouge city tour, so you'll have the opportunity to see all of the most important sites. We've hand curated it for you. There's the new and the old state capitals, which everybody always talks about because they're completely different. One is like a 450 tall structure, and then the other one is like almost looks like a medieval castle. And there's a whole story actually behind the governor's mansion, the old governor's mansion. So I'm not going to spoil that, but this story is really quite neat on how it came about, why it looks the way it looks. You'll also see all the churches and all that stuff here. If you want to go out to see the USS Kidd, if you're a history lover, you can go on board the USS Kidd, which is really quite fun. That's a Fletcher class destroyer that was restored perfectly to World War II configuration of the ship. So that's an opportunity. Another one that I love highlighting here, Jeff, if you want, you have to book these in advance. Best Cruises will tell you all about booking the tours in advance. But we have a really neat cultural tour of the Cajuns. It's actually a privileged access tour, which basically means to you that no one else really gets to do it. So if you're really interested in learning about the Cajun culture, learning about the indigenous people, it's really quite neat. There's a museum that you'll actually have the opportunity to go into. There's, of course, all the Cajun cuisine that you can sample, authentic Cajun cuisine, folk tales that you'll learn about, and the music. There's dance performances. And I don't know, to me, this really brings that Baton Rouge to life. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend this privileged access tour. This is something you have to pay for. But the museum complex is really neat because it opens up a window of a lifestyle that we're not really familiar with of our country. It's 18th and 19th century royal Louisianians. I think that's how you call it, or the people, Louisianians. Anyway, it's a blend of French, Spanish, Native American, African, German, and British influences. So put all those together. That's good old America, right? That's what we are all made up of. And it's really quite neat to see all that come to life. So don't forget the Cajun Cultural Tour, Privilege Access Tour, where you'll have the opportunity to go to Louisiana State University and experience that in depth. Now we're going to be experiencing the lower Mississippi as we head to Darrow. This is going to be closing in on your last port of call before we get to New Orleans. And Darrow is another beautiful Southern charm, an area just dotted with historic mansions. So many of them are a part of the National Historic Landmark Society. So you'll have that opportunity, like we see UNESCO World Heritage Sites all over the world. This is a great way to see our national historic landmarks. There's beautiful houses and all that. So you have the opportunity to head out and experience some of the estates, which is really great. That would be the included tour. And then we also even have a swamp tour. If you want to go on the swamp tour, I get the feeling, Jeff, you may be going on the swamp tour to the wetlands, just because I have a feeling you're just going to want to have to see that, which is hundreds and hundreds of acres of cypress trees and freshwater marshes, and those things that maybe we saw a little earlier. But there's a really great music presentation too, as well. Which is really quite neat. So take a look at that optional tour. But the included tour is the Hummus House and Gardens. This is raved about by Viking employees who curated the Onshore Experiences on the Mississippi. This is a stunning historic mansion that we're going to get you up close and personal into. It's one of the finest mansions in the South, and it's got the most beautiful garden. So it's the former Burnside estate, and it was established in the late 18th century and became known as the Sugar Palace. It produced 20 million pounds of sugar each year at its peak, and it was completed in 1828. It's a Greek revival style mansion, and it's filled with the most elegant furnishing. So I really wanted to make sure that I actually showed this to you all, because this is the included tour. So again, Viking is going to get you into some of the most beautiful mansions, see some of the most beautiful gardens in the included tours, as well as, of course, with those larger cities, making sure you get a good city tour. So unfortunately, our tales come to an end as we land here in New Orleans. But I will tell you that New Orleans is just such a phenomenal city. If you've already been there, you want to go back, because it's filled with music and culture and delicious food and Cajun style food and all sorts of food. And I think one of the things I love about it are the different quarters. So you've got the French Quarter, great shopping. And so we always recommend that you do add on some pre and post. So this cruise itself is just 7 nights. Jeff and Ruth are wild and crazy, and they have decided to, and I know he's actually thinking about maybe altering this and maybe changing it up, but for now, they've kind of landed on the fact that they're going to go to Nashville. I learned something about Jeff earlier today that I never knew, that he loves country music. So Jeff has chosen to do a pre-packaged.
Well, so yeah, Shannon, it's not set in stone, but right now we're looking at that 2 nights in Nashville, and we're looking at 2 nights at the end in New Orleans, but a little more on that later.
Yes, and also just so you know, and you may even be kind of contemplating this yourself, Jeff, is the alternative would maybe to spend some extra time in Memphis. So I totally get where you're coming from because there's a lot to think of here. And so as of right now, though, that beautiful Nashville, I just came back from Nashville, just filled with amazing music at venues, and just it's just so alive, and it's neat to see Nashville versus Memphis. So I love that you're doing that. And then of course, doing the what we call as the post, the best of the Big Easy, right? So many amazing people have been discovered in New Orleans and throughout these music cities, but you will really enjoy that extra time there. So I'm going to now share with you some really neat things about the ship. This is her actually on the muddy, the muddy, mighty Mississippi. The Mississippi is a little bit of a muddy river, just so you know. Don't think you're sailing on the turquoise Caribbean Sea here. But look how beautiful it is, the ship itself. Absolutely the game changer on the Mississippi River. She's 386 passengers. So as I mentioned, a little bit bigger. She's got an amazing crew to guest ratio, 2.6. So your service is not going to be compromised. You have the beautiful backdrop here on the main staircase of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain, Huck Finn, the adventures of Huck Finn. The reason why we do that, I'm sure you know, but maybe you don't. Hannibal, Missouri, which is one of the ports that we go to, is the birthplace of Mark Twain. So we do feature Mark Twain here, and you will learn about that entire Mississippi River, as I had mentioned. But you can see the Scandinavian design, very different from what you may find, which would be more of that Southern charm. But like I said, you'll be touring lots of mansions, so you'll see all that Southern charm on shore. But while you're on the ship, it's a brand new, beautiful Scandinavian style vessel, beautiful dining room. Again, floor to ceiling windows everywhere. That is our trademark. You can see here in the living room where you'll be just kind of hanging out, chatting with people, learning about some of the entertainment and history of the rivers right here in this living room area. This is our main gathering space and our enrichment space. So again, those cooking demonstrations, all that stuff happening here. Also coffee and tea and some snacks 24/7. You'll see more spaces like this in the living room. So you can see lots of little areas for you. We also have another dining venue for you. So it's not just the main dining room, which serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you'd like, you can head up here to the River Cafe. How beautiful is this space? Floor to ceiling windows everywhere. You'll have your alfresco dining here. You can get your barbecue, your Cajun barbecue, your shrimp po' boys. You can spend some time. And again, because you're going in March, you're going to have that great weather to be able to really take advantage of these spaces. So again, some key differences to our offering ship-wise. We call it our hardware. But it's the ship. Look at this space. This is the Explorers Lounge. You can find the Explorers Lounge on our ocean ships, not on our European longships, but we did put it here on the Viking Mississippi, just more spaces for you to really take in the river. I love this. This is the upper part of the Explorers Lounge, where you can enjoy some more seating arrangements, a little bit more private. And instead of a paddle wheeler, folks, we bring to you an infinity plunge pool. So make sure you bring your bathing suit because you likely will be spending some time in this heated pool and enjoying some water. If you like to do water aerobics, we don't have a gym, but absolutely you can kind of get that blood flowing here in the infinity plunge pool. We have the bow of the ship, which is more outdoor seating area. So again, this is your highlight. You're going to be very happy to come back to this beautiful ship after touring. And I have to just brag a little. I absolutely love the staterooms on the Viking Mississippi. Again, if you've been on a Viking river ship in Europe, they don't look anything like this. This is more of what our ocean ship staterooms look like. And you can see how large they are. The minimum square footage is 268 in the veranda and the deluxe veranda. Again, no inside staterooms, no children, no chaos. You have beautiful features, wonderful premium toiletries and robes and slippers and all that stuff. Private areas you can see here with the French balcony. There's no porthole, so this would be a French balcony stateroom. Look at this though, you slide that over, that is a big window, and you can slide and open the doors for some air. Stunning space. I mean, honestly, that's the lowest category and it's lovely. We have our verandas, the deluxe verandas, if you'd like that, where you can walk out onto your veranda, the penthouse suites with the extra little seating area. So it really is kind of how you like to travel if you feel like you want a little extra space. The penthouse suites are lovely because you actually have the two seating room areas, the little bit more of an extended balcony, and then there's the new terrace suite. We don't have this on any other Viking ship, but you can see there's that partition here and two areas for you to enter out onto the terrace, which is a longer terrace, but I absolutely love that stateroom. And then the Explorer Suite, we have 10 Explorer Suites. So if you like to have that extra space, Jeff and the team at Best Cruises can share with you. Now, we do have ADA accessible staterooms. So if anybody needs an ADA accessible stateroom, we have that for you. Even we have one ADA accessible stateroom here in the Explorer Suite. I'm not sure if it's open, but that's great. So Jeff, I'm going to pass this back over to you, my friend, so you can explain the pricing, and then also don't forget that we got that thumbs up on that extra incentive.
Oh, okay. So Ruth, just to tell everybody, Ruth and I are so excited about this trip. We truly are. Can't wait. Anyways, 24. So here is the pricing and accommodation information. If you look at the bottom, the most reasonable pricing is that V1 veranda, which is 260, it's almost 270 square feet. Just to remind everybody, when you're on a princess or a celebrity, the balcony rooms are generally about 170 plus 42, maybe 210. So this is substantially bigger than the standard balcony rooms that we're used to on the ocean ship. So, and the difference between like the V1 and the DV4s and the DV2s really is the position where they are on the ship. As you can see, the PV, which is the penthouse veranda, that's about 340 square feet. PS1, a penthouse suite, is 405 square feet. So the per person pricing you can see on the screen. And then Viking past guests will get an additional discount. And if you see, we have the two green columns. One is we'll go to the one all the way on the right, the loyalty points. That's our loyalty program. Those of you who have traveled with us know that we always offer discounts from the supplier's pricing, sometimes in the matter of onboard credits, sometimes in the manner of a loyalty check, which we send a couple of weeks after you come back. And so realistically, Shannon, close your ears. You're not supposed to hear this, okay? But the loyalty points is a check that you're going to receive a couple of weeks after you come home as a thank you for traveling again with Best Cruises and Tours. So the stateroom onboard credit is different from that. That will be onboard credit that you will have to spend on the ship, which you could use to cover some of those if you wanted to do some of those optional excursions, as well as the ones that are included. You can use that. And we heard just this morning that that's going to be a double amount. So in other words, the stateroom onboard credit is going to be $200 per stateroom, $200 per stateroom. And also,
Also, just to not to cut you off here, Jeff, but just wanted to also highlight that that's for attending this presentation offering. So you do have to purchase by March 20th.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a good thing, Jeff, because as you know, we are really selling out of
I know, I
Mississippi.
know.
And so this is not a decision you want to think about. You want to get that stateroom you want. If you want in the middle of the ship, if you want a special category, don't wait. I actually,
No, 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 we can't. This is yeah, so you're ruining my fun, Shannon. It's
sorry.
okay. So, so it's a 2 week, we have a 2 week window, which to make sure we get all these terrific benefits. And just also, Viking has an air program. That's a terrific air program, and it's available from most major gateways, and it's $4.99 a person, and it also includes all the transfers. And somebody had put this on the questions on the chat. The pre and post cruise extensions, they're available in Memphis, they're available in Nashville, they're available in New Orleans. The ones that I had noted, the one in New Orleans was the Best of the Big Easy, which was 2 nights, is $8.99 a person for those of you who are and the Best of the Bayou, which is 3 nights, is $9.99. And Memphis
was $12.99. So
yeah. So anyway, we can go over all that for those of you that are interested. So Viking has the pre and post extensions. So how do we get organized if we are interested in moving forward? So as we said, this offer is valid. Viking requires a $500 a person stateroom deposit, and that deposit is refundable up to 120 days prior to departure, with the exception of $100 per person administrative fee. So, Shannon, would you put the contact information up there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
Okay, so if we are interested in moving forward, then here's how we do it. You'll give us a call, 800-576-2378. Email us, and everybody who is attending this webinar is going to get either tomorrow or the next day a email with all this information on it. It'll have links to go to the website to take a look at it. If you'll even have a chance to watch us again, there will be a link to see this webinar again. And we just are so excited about this, and we'd love you to join us. And Shannon, I think we can take a look at some of the questions, and I see one from Teresa. So Teresa, how much onboard credit have we received whenever you've traveled with us? It's been quite a bit, and that's how I explained we either do it via loyalty points or onboard credit. It depends on the trip itself and so forth, but there always is a benefit to traveling with Best Cruises. And I think there's another question about the cost of the 2-night New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's $8.99 a person for the 2-night New Orleans. And there was a question about how long.
Yes.
How long are the
tours, the onshore tours. And so one of the things that is a great feature is when you actually book, you'll have the opportunity to go into your booking portal. It's called My Viking Journey, and you can see all of the excursions and select them, and Best Cruises can help you with them. They vary. You have cruises, tours that are an hour, you have tours that are 3 hours, depending on what we're doing. And then also we even have some where you forgo the included tour and you maybe do a longer experience. experience and do a privileged access tour like that Cajun experience. So it really is contingent on the tours. But what I will tell you is that we love to try to get you back to the ship to have lunch. So most of the included tours will take you out in the morning. We'll bring you back to the ship. We never want you to miss a meal on board. That's part of your pricing. So we want to make sure you have that opportunity. And then in the afternoon, that's when you can go back out onto shore and do some more optional tours with us or do some exploring on your own. We have
Well, also Shannon, when we just came back, they had the included tours both times. So in other words, they had the included tour in the morning, but if you wanted to do one of the optional tours or just go out on your own, you could do that. And then they also, for those people that didn't do the included tour in the morning, they could do the same included tour in the afternoon.
Exactly. So it's
we have to look and see how and each port is going to be different.
Yeah. And honestly, they are just, you have a program director on board too, who like really kind of handholds you through everything. And if you needed to make a last minute change and there was availability, you could do so because maybe you listened to a port talk the night before and you really want to go to that one historic home. So lots of also flexibility for you.
We did quite a bit of changing on the ship. So you arrange it in advance to the best of, and then they're very flexible once you get on the ship. If you want to switch this and do that, we found it was extremely easy at the explorer's desk to manage that.
Yeah, for sure. And so you also, there was a question here about water levels. So we've obviously been navigating that. That's been a challenge on the Mississippi this past summer. But they've been dredging and working very hard because you have to remember something about the Mississippi, even the Rhine and the Danube. These are trading rivers, right? So you've got a lot of barges, you've got a lot of the really important things are moving up and down these rivers. We're actually the least important thing moving up and down these rivers, not meaning humans, but just in terms of cargo and all that. So there aren't any issues as of right now. We've navigated, we've adjusted some things on our own ship to be able to roll in some of the waters that were a little bit of a challenge for us last year during this season. So I would say for us, we actually didn't really cancel a lot. We just adjust the itinerary like we would do on the Rhine and the Danube. But also for anything that we did have to cancel, it was primarily because of just things that we needed to do on the ship to complete certain rooms and so forth, and just kind of manage some other stuff, but unrelated to the waters. So to answer your question, we have been able to navigate the waters with no issues. Significant issues, and all the others have been ironed out, and we hope to see you on board. Any other questions?
Yes. So there's a question about, is Graceland part of the Viking itinerary on your own or on your own? So Graceland is part of the Memphis pre. If you were doing the 2 nights in Memphis, it's included in the 2-night pre at this time. Now we've also seen some possible changes in the itinerary for this year, where Graceland actually became part of the regular itinerary. But right now, as we speak, if we did the 2-night pre in Memphis, Graceland is included in that itinerary.
Yeah, and also without the pre, I think there's, well, first of all, easy for you to get there as well. But if you wanted to just come in and see Graceland, if you weren't going to be doing a pre, but I believe there's also an opportunity possibly to even do that excursion with us as a paid excursion. So we can answer all those questions. And great. Well, I don't think we missed anything else. Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
Listen, thank you. We appreciate it. And most of all, thank you to everybody who took your time to visit our webinar. We value your business, and we value our relationship. and whatever, we're thrilled to go on this, and we'd love you to join us, but most importantly, stay well. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you coming.
All right, and maybe I'll travel with you, Jeff, so you can
All right.
take
We-
care of me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's nice to have your travel agent on board, so just in case.
All right, everybody.
Jeff will
We're
be
gonna-
texting me along the Mississippi River to make sure your trip goes absolutely perfect. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Bye, Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much.